intro.
No music, no soul.
Welcome back, Aggressively Healthy. So, people, it's been a week. We're filming a little more frequently. Actually, we are going to take a slight vacation in March, which will be nice. A little break from work, but still thinking about health. Current events in the world in terms of health. It's interesting. Watching TV, the Super Bowl, there were back-to-back medical commercials, and the pharma industry is pushing really, really hard. Have you noticed watching TV, there's clips now, it's like 2-3 minute commercials about medications. What do you think in terms of the path we're going down with that and the quick fix relative to like everything we're seeing, even with our kids watching TV and stuff? You know, it's just odd. I'm noticing it more and more. It's just becoming more obvious to me.
Marketing is an interesting animal, and you see even at whether it be the national level or the local level, there seems to be a little bit more inclusion in terms of like lifestyle, which I think is really good. I just hope they mean it, you know. So like we're seeing more and more traditional healthcare facilities talk about diet and exercise, showcase that a little bit more in their imagery.
Yep. Talk
about it a little bit more, but it's yet to see how they're implementing, you know, because it's not like this stuff is no one knows.
Right.
It's not a matter of the information. And in fact, if anyone was listening right now who didn't know what to do, they could type into Google, what should I do to get in shape? Or what should I do to change my health?
Right.
It'll give you the information. The problem is the implementation. The problem is the execution. The problem is the consistency. And that's where like it's more than just what to do or even how to do it.
So I want to get a little weird for a minute on thoughts. If you look at the see something, say something version of like speak up if you notice something bad happening, a huge problem I'm seeing is if you employ me and I notice that you're doing something really, really terrible, I then have a hard time telling you to stop doing that because you're paying me. So I then risk an income, a salary. In the medical world, it's happened so much that doctors constantly are doing the wrong thing under the guise of doing the right. Even so much so as like, oh, give them extra pain meds so they don't call me over the weekend. I mean, I knew a surgeon that said that constantly, right? So this like lack of accountability, I think, of admin because they have the money to pay people to shut up. Now, if you look at the world today, current politics, we're watching it real time, right? The disgustingness happening in our world in terms of these pedophilic type things, like it's because somebody was scared to say something because their job, their finances, their lifestyle, everything was on the line. And they were willing to sell that for a profit, right? To maintain their security. I come from the grounds of hoping that you started the trend. I mean, you don't even realize it when you quit being at Yale and you're like, I'm out of here because I don't agree with the style of training and I want to invent this new. You did this in the training world. I'm doing it in the health world. We're doing it in the health world together because you've already led the path by doing it in training. You left a huge corporate entity as a 20-something-year-old, given a job at a big academic center. Oh, everybody would chomping at the bit to take that job, and you went the other way. I think in medicine, it's really hard to do that. And what we're seeing is people incapable of doing it because they're handcuffed by a paycheck. The reason I wanted to talk about this is today's episode, a lot of what we want to do are red flags and things that pop up in the office with a doctor or things that the medical industry might say, or however you interact with healthcare, things to watch out for. But I also want to really give a question and throw something out there to the doctors of the world. You should also do the same. Like if you see something, say something, and you should see red flags as a physician with the admin of a hospital, with the admin of whoever's running your corporation. If you're a private equity owned medical practice, like you can't always just push the volume play. So if we get into our first like big red flag in traditional medical care, we bring up the fact that we think the system prioritizes throughput over outcomes.
Right.
As a consumer, what's your take on that in terms of the medical? And give me an example, say, from your side, what you might see, and then I can respond in terms of like, here's the solve. Because if we're going to present the listeners with a problem, we'll present them with a solve. And I think that's what we do best.
Probably it's good to explain what throughput is, or something that you would see as an everyday garden variety aspect of throughput,
Yep.
which is essentially, you can think of it as volume or traffic. So if you see something that is definitely high traffic, that lives in an industry compared to the same industry that does not have high traffic or high throughput,
Yep.
you almost question, why is that? So if you took McDonald's
Yep.
from 7 a.m. or whenever they open until they close 7 p.m., how busy is their drive-through?
Right.
And that business model depends on that drive-through being consistent
Yep.
and packed and busy
Yep.
for it to thrive economically.
Right.
It keeps their costs down. It keeps their labor down. It keeps all these things really great for the shareholders.
Yep.
On the flip side of that, you go to a real fancy steakhouse, and yeah, sometimes certain days on the week or times of the day, it's busy.
Yep.
Most of the time, it's not.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't need to be busy all the time.
Right.
And that's because it's pushing high quality, and yes, per unit, it's more expensive
Yep.
and whatever. But it's just a different business model that also flourishes because they stick to who they are.
Yep.
Now you look at something like medicine.
Yeah.
And how a PCP has to operate, not because he wants to necessarily,
Yep.
but because that's the system and that's the business he's in.
Yep.
That's what's required of him by almost outside of industry influence, namely the insurance companies, right? I bet you if you poll 100 PCPs, they'd be like, I'd rather not see and have to see someone every 12 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, again, like, we're not throwing doctors under the bus.
No.
Some doctors are fine with it, but I would say the majority of them aren't.
Yeah, and it's a subconscious drive, right? So if you know that your income is based on your output in terms of how many people you see, not based on the problems you solve, you're going to have a very different push for monetary success.
Right.
If you actually gave doctors the problems that were truly not relative to accountability on the consumer, right? So as people, we took care of ourselves better. We ended up in the hospital with things that were actually out of your control that then needed a really good problem solved. Then maybe the system could adapt to that, right? But it's the combination of both. Healthcare has presented the people with an option of a safety net relative to everything. You can literally do whatever you want, drive your car 100 miles an hour drunk on the highway, smash into something, you end up in the hospital, and we save your life,
Yeah, we'll
right?
take care of you.
We'll take care of you. So no matter what the accountability, I mean, that's an extreme version of it, but everything in between exists, right? Like when you go to the diner and you order French fries with chili on top, or if you're the guy that walks into Dunkin' Donuts this morning and orders the double egg, double bacon croissant, I would guarantee you a huge amount of money that if you knew that they could check your body cam for what you've consumed in the day, and if you went to the hospital that evening and had a heart attack, they were just like, well, all of those things add up. You're going to have to pay for the entire bill. You'll probably think different on the input. But we presented them these options of full safety net where that gray zone becomes really blurry because you don't know what you're accountable to.
Yeah.
And now once you trick people into removing their accountability, you devalue them. They start to be more and more depressed, health anxious. They don't know what they're doing. Now you trap them in the answer being a pill, right? Because you've got them hanging on the edge of a cliff by fingertips. And if you're hanging by fingertips and someone comes over and grabs your wrist, even though they might not be able to pull you over the edge of the cliff, they're going to give you that feeling of like, oh, this guy's helping me. And that's where they keep you. So like you said, it's not really the practitioner's fault. It's the design of the system.
And the underpinnings of that is rooted in defensive strategy.
Yeah.
Right? So if you get hurt, you go to the hospital. If you get sick, you go to the hospital.
Yep.
So it's always like, and it almost takes the the proactive or the offensive strategy out of not only the doctor, but the consumer.
Yep.
So it's like, I have to wait before I use this. So there is nowhere in the implementation or even the expression
Yep.
of what the medical community does in terms of generating true health. It is always defending an illness or defending a sickness or
Right.
defending like whatever it is, but it's never proactive.
The only proactive thing we kind of do, this is going to sound nuts coming out of my mouth as well, is like the vaccination protocols in pediatric health. That's really the only thing that's progressively like, oh, we're going to stop this group from getting sick. And the herd immunity, if you believe in like humanity, right? Like you have to believe that there's energies given off by humans, energies given off by animals, and there's vibrations and all this shit. And if you want to argue with me on that and say I'm some voodoo guy, don't worry about it. You currently are stuck to the ground by gravity, right? So that's a force you can't see, you can't feel. The center of the earth currently is keeping your feet pinned on the ground, right? So anything else outside the energy world, you can't really argue with once you believe in gravity. My point then being, like, if you need to proactively get involved with these people's healthcare, you can't be on the defensive end.
Correct.
You need to have their energy levels, their ability to encounter those opposing forces or environmental cues that would normally strain a person with a way of not getting hurt or not becoming ill to the point where you need the system. It's completely preventative care, but pediatric vaccination scheduling is really the only thing we do preventative driven. The rest is all just Band-Aid.
Yeah. Well, you know the quote about prevent defense in football?
Yeah, and everybody
It's like
scores.
All it does is prevent you from winning.
Every time.
So, you know, like, because it's an on your heels strategy. And I think that is almost encapsulates everything that's wrong with what we're seeing is that, you know, these things that happen over time that become insidious in nature, they don't rear their ugly heads until maybe decades.
Right.
And it's like, oh, I'm fine. Oh, I'm fine. You go to the doctor. You're fine.
Yeah.
Keep doing what you're doing. And until you actually hit a threshold, there is really no cause of intervention or desire to intervene.
And one of the biggest constraints is our next red flag. Your labs are normal.
Oh, yeah.
I don't.
How many times do you get that, by the way?
Yeah, constantly.
Like, I feel like shit, but my doctor says my
labs are
fine.
well, I see it every day. And then if you actually take symptoms related to body mass, related to non-algorithmic medicine, I have now diagnosed 100% people with diabetes or metabolic deficiencies or any realm of disease process outside of the normal range, but they still have the disease. So their labs look normal, but due to body comp, they're still experiencing significant metabolic derangements.
So can you actually just highlight like why that disconnect occurs, like actually fundamentally, and then like why a doctor wouldn't be able to pick up on some of that stuff?
So a big thing in medicine now is computerization of notes. So the trend was when you went on rounds, like when I started residency, our rounds were done with a cart, a paper chart, and we wrote things down. Now, medicine was kind of algorithmic already, but it wasn't fully algorithmic because you had humans walking around discussing a plan. So you and I would stand outside the patient's room. We would figure out what we want to do, and we'd write it down. And then we'd go through the next patient. We'd look at all our labs, and everything would be on a piece of paper, and it would take a lot of thought and time. The transition, interestingly, I went through it. So I, in high school, went through transition from no cell phones to cell phones. In medicine, my intern year was done on paper. The next year we transitioned to electronic medical record. And what I witnessed was what I just explained in terms of rounds, then transition into a computer standing outside a patient's room and having that discussion, but that discussion now became dumb. And the reason that discussion became dumb is that discussion now needed no external input of knowledge because all you needed to do is type a number into a computer and it gave you a range. And then it would give you a dosing for the medication. And then it would give you a result of whatever might happen because of pure numbers. So they started to get this huge disconnect. You'd stand outside a patient's room. They became a thing on a computer rather than a human. And the interaction between you and I became less my knowledge and your knowledge put together. It became more like, what does the computer tell us? In my mind, it was the first transition from like conscious medical arts into the AI version of it, because that's a dumbed down AI version. You're arguing with Epic, which was the system we used. You put in a medic, red flag pops up and says, don't use that. And you kind of react to that. Now, in the lab world, that becomes very easy to just roll through your day. Normal, 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 normal. Why? Because in a hospital setting, you're pretty much just running triage constantly, right? Who in the hospital is the sickest? Who needs emergency care? Who can we get rid of? Who can leave the hospital? They're well enough to go out on their own, even though they're not perfectly healthy. And then everybody in between. So every time you visit a patient's room, you're triaging. You're finding out, do they need to go to the operating room? Do they need a procedure? Do they need a new medication? Are we on cruise control, or are we hitting the exit? And as you do that, it's really easy to do that by clumping people into categories. So everywhere in life, we come up with things that aren't normal, right? And in medical world, we want everything to be normal. Imagine if somebody came into the gym and said, I want to be, healthier. And you were like, well, the normal range of body fat is from 15 to 40%. That's the normal range we found here in the United States. And you're at 30, so we're good. Have a good day. How would that go? So anybody you walk into who's a physician and you hear them say, well, your labs all look normal, independent of how you feel, you need to immediately leave and go encounter another practicing physician or another healthcare provider. What is the take on normalcy in exercise world? How do you guys balance what's normal? I didn't even think of this before this conversation, but what is normal? Because truly, is there any normal to physical activity? Right? So if there's not a normal in your world, how is there a normal then in lab world? And how do we come up with that connection even better?
There's such a disconnect now, maybe more than ever, about like what activity is. So like, I mean, how many times if someone who's not really fit or in tune with exercise, everyone who does exercise is obsessive.
Yeah.
So they already have a label in their head that it's extreme. And I would also liken it very similarly to how people perceive as what portion of food is too much. Like we all intuitively know what we believe is a lot of food.
Yeah.
Like everyone has been to a restaurant where like, yeah, it was good, but the portions were small, right?
Right.
But that their date might have been like the portions were fine.
Yeah.
Some people might think that portion is big.
Right.
So in terms of exercise or activity, it is really what they have normalized in their everyday to day life.
Yep.
So if that means you're an office worker, you might be like, well, I'm not that active, but I'm normal. It's not like I'm out of shape or too out of shape, whatever that means. We hear it all the time where people are like, oh, I'm not that bad. I'm like, what? Even if you say bad, like what
does that mean?
Good.
Yeah. And now here's another pretty interesting thing that I see all the time. People looking at labs. And if you're not looking at the full spectrum of labs, normal can be completely abnormal relative to the full picture.
Right.
Like the gym bro who never does legs. If you see that guy sitting on a city bus and you drive by and all you see is his waist up, you're going to be like, whoa, that guy is really big and healthy and strong. From the waist down, they could have nothing, right? So normal depends on relative to the whole picture. I see this constantly, and I'm gonna say it out there again. There's a lot of stimulants out in the world that will try to boost your testosterone. I'm finding that a lot of them, so I'm going anti-marketing right now, right? Like a lot of people get paid by supplement companies to sell it. I'm going anti-supplement right now. A lot of the testosterone stimulating supplements make your testosterone total go up on a lab sheet. So you become in the normal range or upper level of normal. But if you're not checking estrogen, steroid hormone binding globulin, if you're not checking thyroid, if you're not checking TSH, if you're not checking antibodies, those people on those stimulants, you will see a higher total testosterone, yes, and you get that effect. But behind the scenes, if you're building an army to block testosterone because you don't realize the residual effects of the supplement you're taking, you're actually reducing your effective testosterone in your blood. I see it constantly. So those people walk in, my labs are normal in my regular doctor's office because their total testosterone looks normal. I check their labs, we make it relative to everything, and their usable testosterone is very, very low. So the human sitting across from me with normal labs to their regular doctor, feeling terrible and now does not understand why. Beyond that meeting with that doctor, luckily some people come in here, but why would you go seek another opinion, right? You got the effect of the supplement. You saw data to track it. The doctor telling you didn't really know what to track, so they couldn't tell you the effectiveness of the study, but everything looked normal. Now you're putting that person through hell. And they're going to continue taking whatever they're taking, or now they're going to stop taking the testosterone stim. Their total T drops, their free drops even more, their SHBG levels out, but they still feel terrible. So now they're stuck in this rut and they're going to give up. So calling things normal is very troublesome to me, but how it happened is what we just explained. What would people do if your child or somebody came home, or say you get on a plane? You ready? I always use this analogy. First of all, I'm going to leave this one with you. Have you ever heard a pilot, when they hit turbulence, be like, I really need somebody who's recently taken a deep dive on Google to come help me fly the plane, right? Nobody's ever done that. But more importantly, if you got on a plane and the pilot came out and was like, on average, I land the planes about 80% of the time. That's pretty good and normal on the simulator. So I'm going to take you guys on a flight and we'll be landing in about 3 hours. You ready to take off? Would you ever get on that plane?
No.
So then why is normal acceptable in medicine? And I don't really understand it, because you've been around physique, athletic, whatever. What makes people okay with just being normal?
It's definitely like the alibi to not like do something else. There's also this very human and honest perspective of change is hard. And it's really easy to deny where you're at because it's an indictment of what got you there.
Right.
And then people will bring up, well, I eat because I'm unhappy, or I had trauma, or I had a bad break, like whatever it may be. And they're just clinging to this emotional reaction,
right,
and justifying what they're doing right now without really looking at what they're forfeiting to move towards. And I think part of it, honestly, is just people don't want to be wrong about their decisions.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah.
And it's no different than the financial. It's like, dude, you didn't have to buy the second house.
Yeah.
You didn't have to buy the vacation. You didn't have,
right.
And that's why you're in debt. Like, that's what it is. It's just a bad choice. Now, you also have the power of correcting that decision by not making another bad decision, or actually truly addressing the
initial
problem.
Bad one.
Yeah, the problem that got you here in the first place. But it is hard. Like, I'm like, nothing that we do, and I don't want to make it sound like it's just find an easy way to do it. There really isn't.
Right.
There's simple ways of doing it, but making that distinction and also committing to something that you agree, like, don't do it for a month, right? You have to kind of commit. And like we talked about this the other day, it's like, this is who you are now.
Yeah.
For the rest of your time on this planet.
Yeah.
This is what you're going to do.
The other thing I don't really understand is I guess I'm at the point where I don't want to die and have anybody at the funeral be able to say like, well, he didn't really try that hard. You know what I mean? Like, I want people, even if I tried and it backfires, like, fuck it, I still want you to know I tried. And the reason I'm trying is, I guess it's one of those things where you don't really know what you live for, and you kind of got to find a purpose. But at the end of the day, when you realize it, it's just one big practice.
Yeah.
Like, if somebody ever says to you, like, oh, you should definitely do this because this always works out. It's like, buddy, we haven't lived the next second of time. You got no idea what's coming. Yeah. Like, there could be a meteor coming, kaboom, we don't know. But at the end of the day, you got to be prepared for at least what you know is out there and exists as an adversary. We trick people into that fear being taken away by handing them a medication before a lifestyle adjustment. And I have a little bit of a bone to pick. I hear it all the time, and we could get back to medication before lifestyle is a red flag, but I got to just talk about this one thing. And we talk about it frequently, but people always come in the office and they say, I don't know if I'm ready to start testosterone. And it blows my mind. And I'm not using just testosterone, any hormone replacement or any hormone optimization. It's actually not hormone replacement. It's called hormone optimization. I don't understand it because, like, if you're bleeding to death and your blood was dripping out of your body slowly, you would never say no, or some people would, but you'd never say no to a blood transfusion. If you had a heart attack, you would never say no to the meds that are going to keep you alive for moving forward, or any sort of disease process. Why do we have this like crazy disconnect that medication on a TV during the Super Bowl is going to save us from having fucking arthritis for the rest of our life, and we got no problem putting Xeljanz up in our body, right? Side effects could be a gajillion things, but we are stuck on this. I don't want to be stuck on testosterone for the rest of my life, which is something that you make naturally. You have been groomed so well that you are willing to denounce the chemical your body makes and absorb whatever else the world can give you while eating a Dorito. Where is this disconnect coming from?
I'll give the benefit of the doubt that, there's still kind of a stigma around hormones and testosterone, and that there's, like, don't forget the medical community hasn't done any favors for this.
Garbage.
You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
like, people our age are probably thinking, well, isn't steroids the thing that killed
Yeah.
X athlete, and that's what got that guy in trouble?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
His life spun out of control because he was abusing steroids.
Right.
Like, I don't want to be that guy. The other thing is just really not understanding how their body works. Like,
Yeah.
there has never been a time in formal education where they're like, hey, except sixth grade puberty class.
You get a
it's like,
boner, that's it, right.
Your testes are going to start making testosterone.
Yeah.
It's like the most awkward thing with an 80-year-old woman tells you. You know what I mean? So, like, there really isn't very much insight on how your body works.
No.
And that there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
It's not that you're less of a man or less of a woman or you're broken or any of this. I think it does come around to this concept of identity. It's and like, maybe we're not good anymore of accepting responsibility.
We're not.
And we're not good at accepting responsibility that our life is what it is because of how we chose to accept reality.
But think about the insurance industry in general. Not to get totally sidetracked, but everything in the world you can buy insurance for. Why? In case. Well, what the fuck? Enough with the in case. Like, let's actually just get the initial job done, and then we don't have to worry about the in case. Like, right now, what is the chance of you falling and breaking your arm if you slip on ice? You, currently. Close to zero. There's no, like, your bones are, we've done DEXAs. They're fucking 1.8 grams per centimeter squared density. Like, they're not going to break when you fall. But think about this. Some people have to worry that when they fall, their arm breaks. And if somebody falls and their arm breaks at Stop and Shop, who's paying? The insurance policy from Stop and Shop, because somebody slipped and fell and broke their arm. I'll almost guarantee you most falls off of a standing platform, if you break something, like if you snap your ankle falling off a curb, I don't care what you tell me. If we did a DEXA, that bone is weak. Or you haven't prepared yourself. You should not snap a bone falling off a curb at any age. And we've made it acceptable. So, like, insurance coverage has made us think that this big fucking safety net exists. And the accountability end of it is nuts. Like you said, you come to a gym, people think you're crazy. You're like I come to the gym for a couple hours a day and everyone's like, oh, you're so over the top.
Must be nice.
But at the end of the day,
I don't have the time.
Right. But
I got kids.
But you know what we're doing? We're actually saving you money.
Yeah.
You don't have to take care of me. I'm not on insulin. I'm not on blood pressure meds. I pay for all the medication. I pay for the gym. I pay for my food. I'm never going to end up in a situation where somebody else has to wipe my ass because I didn't try to do it myself with the most amount of effort. So how do we put a little bit of accountability back on the consumer? I mean, that's pretty much your entire message is accountability with exercise. But how do we promote that in terms of like the normalcy of labs being okay or the normalcy of exercise and kind of push them to that upper optimization? And even with the testosterone, have them realize whatever the balance we're trying to achieve is for their well-being so that they can have accountability of their own health.
I'll zoom out, and I think the number one precursor to change is the want.
Yeah.
You know, like whether you want to have $1 million or want to have a 6-pack or want to be healthy or want to live healthy for your grandkid, whatever, like you got to want that. That's something that me or you cannot tell people. Like you got to want this. So there is an element of intrinsic motivation to be authentically aligned with what you want to happen in your life. And this, I say this quote all the time: the only true measure of intelligence is getting out of life what you want.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So
that's a good point.
If you want to be, bedridden
Yeah.
at 60, I can't say that's wrong.
Yeah.
That's what you want.
Yeah.
I don't want that.
Right.
But I don't know if people have enough information to actually make an informed decision about what they want anymore.
I got a question for you. Do you think the average person knows what they want? Or
No.
do they think they want something because they're purely trying to keep up with whoever around them might have things that they think are attractive?
I think a lot of it is just this conditioned response, and I think we all have like a similar story to tell. It's like, why did you want to be a doctor? Why did I want to be a business owner? Why did I want whatever? And like part of that is the side effect of being in a modern day society where there's a lot of material driven ideas and like, hey, that looks, I want that,
right?
Without realizing what you have to commit to get it. And there is such a disconnect between, especially in the health space, and what the cost of not doing it. People just don't see it as like, I'm not really that bad.
Right.
How many times do you hear that? I'm like 10 pounds overweight.
Yeah.
And then you do a DEXA and you're like, yeah, you're 30 pounds overweight because you have 20 pounds of visceral fat.
And I don't eat that bad, or I don't do it.
I don't drink that much.
Right.
It's like, compared to what?
Right.
Like, and like the easiest question is like, so if what you continue to do today for the next 10 years, does that get you to what you want?
Yeah.
Like that's the only question that you really got to answer.
And one of the biggest things I think societally that has held us back from advancing in medicine is it's really easy to just keep people normal. Yeah. Right? So with minimal input from the medical community.
Which really means you're just not dead or suffering.
Yeah. Right.
Overtly.
And the biggest trick they ever pulled was the longevity trick, right? So they completely bypassed quality. They realized that if you told people that a ticket to longevity was a way more expensive, attainable thing, because here we can give you all these meds that just keep you alive, and you weren't selling quality, then normal became a really reasonable thing because you can keep people pinned. I don't know. It's hard to kind of get somebody to buy into it if they don't truly want it themselves. So back to that, what do they really want out of life? It's hard to predict, right? Because some people want different things. But I do think once people find health, it's one of the few things that I could say with, I think, a really 100% stamp of approval. I've never seen anybody regret feeling healthy.
No.
I've never seen anybody regret when their body doesn't hurt, when they have some muscles, when they can do a push-up, do a pull-up, not feel really good. How do we express that to somebody and get them through that initial hump too, right? Because they might come to the gym the first week or two, might be really tiring, you're sore, you're beat up, whatever. How do you show people that that feeling really becomes something of joy and there's nobody that regrets it getting to that point?
I always say this too, is that I think most humans learn best through contrast.
Yeah.
And I'll define learning as learning is actually when you decide to change your behavior.
Yeah.
So you could know something and not change. Like I know drinking and driving is bad.
Listen closely.
Right?
Yeah.
I know that.
Yeah.
I learned my lesson when I got pulled over driving drunk.
Yeah.
And then I changed my ways.
Yeah.
We were just in a meeting with an attorney, and we didn't know this. We don't know much about him. But he revealed to us that he was 80 pounds heavier just a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And the moment for him is when he went to the Amazon. And he's like, it's hot, it's rough terrain.
Yeah.
And being 80 pounds heavier made it suck.
Yep. And it didn't matter how much money you could pay for the trip.
I felt like he said he felt like he missed a really good opportunity to really enjoy this once in a lifetime experience because he just didn't take care of himself.
Yeah.
And then he started taking care of himself.
Yeah.
But that was his contrast moment. That was his epiphany bridge to like, I don't want to live like this anymore. And I think at some point you have to realize, like, you can maybe hear someone talk about it, you know, your wisdom, learning from other people's mistakes, or you learn from your own mistakes, whatever. But that learning indicates that you're changing your behavior, and that's the only time where we can say that's happening.
Yeah, and there's an interesting statement you just said, once in a lifetime, right? And we have a lot of these opportunities that people say are once in a lifetime. If you actually sit back, I mean, not to get super weird deep on everybody, but like every moment you're alive is once in a lifetime. You'll never relive the second we just had. It won't happen. If you're on YouTube right now, Instagram, whatever you're looking at us on, this time just passed. It's gone. It's never coming back. So once in a lifetime is every moment. So I don't really know why, because I can't think like it. Like, what are people waiting for to become healthy? And why are people so okay with being normal? Because in health world, normalcy is okay. You go to the doctor, yeah, everything's normal. Oh, you work out, you're abnormal. Except in their professional world, they're always trying to do better, right? Like, people always want to try to like make more money or go out and get something more and what they want. But I think what they want, they can get easier if they're healthy. The once in a lifetime thing is a little nuts to think about overall, right? Because there's really no experiential wisdom. Like, you've never lived the next moment. It's all retrospective. If you lifestyle audit before prescribing as a doctor, things get very, very, very easy, I think. And it instantly...
Can you just like explain that a little bit?
Yes. So...
Because most people don't know, like, they've experienced doctors before.
Yeah.
So this is like, what do you mean?
So if you walk into me and you're 300 pounds, you sit on your couch all day and you walk in, you're like, I want to get healthy. And I say, okay, what do you do for exercise? And you say nothing. And I say, well, would you like to? And you say no. And I say, okay, what do you eat? And you're like, well, I eat whatever I want. And I say, well, would you like to change your eating? And you say no. And I say, all right, well, how would you like to fix it? And you say, well, is there a pill or a shot? I instantly should say no. Because if you're not willing to put in any effort from your end, and I don't audit your lifestyle by trying to figure out your input and how involved you want to be in the process, if I just throw a pharmaceutical at you, I'm just adding to the problem. So I need to really sit down with you and figure out, are you a mover? Do you work in a job where you're up and at 'em? Are you at a desk all day? What is your exercise habit? What's your sleep habits? When do you wake up in the morning? When do you go to bed at night? How much movement in terms of cardiovascular fitness versus pure resistance training do you do? What's your carb intake? All of these lifestyle things would then affect the medications I use. So without that lifestyle audit, I think you can't really assess a person and give them a deliverable with a fulfillment promise on a medication if you don't know how the medication is going to interact with them. Would you say the same about the gym environment? If you don't lifestyle audit, what's the use in even interacting?
Yeah, without a doubt. And or even on the extreme case, like we interviewed someone a couple of months ago, and he came in and he was spending, it was like his first coach that he hired. And he's like, yeah, it's like $250 a month. He does my training, my nutrition. I'm like, wow, that's good for you.
Yeah.
And then he told me about his supplement routine.
Oh, yeah.
And it was actually just illegal anabolic steroids at $1,200 a month. Yeah. So the guy's like, so he got these great results, but I'm like, it probably had nothing to do with the training and nutrition.
Yeah, nothing.
So like he thought all these results came from like the stringent programming and whatever, but it was like, it's hard to parse out what actually gave you a result.
Yes.
However, when you stop taking all the supplements, you know, the results went away and you got worse.
And the world of medicine has tricked people into that thought process so much that they'll sit in an office, you'll ask them medical history, and they'll say, I have no medical history, right? I got no disease processes in my body. No hypertension, nothing. And then you say, well, what medications are you on? And then they give you a list of medications that treat high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, all these things. So then you say to them, but you're on these medications, so you have these diseases. And they say, no, those medications take that away. I've heard that said out loud. The medications don't take anything away, right? Zero. If your house was full of water and all of a sudden there was a little leak and you put duct tape and a little leak on the backside, duct tape, you keep duct taping, eventually the whole thing is going to pop open. The duct tape only lasts so long. That is medication. It does not change the disease process. Yeah. And here's the beauty of the voodoo medicine we do. Guess what changes the disease process? Optimization of your lifestyle, of your nutrition involved in that, of your exercise involved in that, and then of your biochemical markers. Most likely, optimizing your hormone balances, vitamins, minerals, all of these things, and then we get a result that actually changes a disease. That's a tough education system to change. We've been pushing people through a system where they think a pill cures it, a pill cures it, a pill cures it. And now you're trying to tell them that they can cure it themselves with a little bit of effort up front. That does sound kind of mysterious. So I think in terms of the once in a lifetime, I think in terms of lifestyle audit and all of these things, they're great to get people into this mindset. How do you then show them through exercise, and I can do it in medicine just by saying this is you, how do you then make it that the protocol is not for everyone, right? So then you show them, okay, we can't do what your neighbor's doing, because a lot of them will come in and be like, well, my neighbor does squats and my other neighbor does push-ups. Why aren't I doing those? So now you've tried to frame them in an abnormal, you're an individual, but now they want to do what everybody else is doing. How do you take them through that, not same protocol for everyone, to show them that you're not the red flag person? And we could do the same with medicine.
We talk about this a lot. Like when someone comes in here and they see, like we have a pretty eclectic group of people that work and work out here. And it's like, this is what we deem as normal.
Yep.
Whatever environment that you're coming from that has allowed you to justify your normal, that would not pass here.
Right.
And if that's what you want, like take a look around. Like see, you know, the middle-aged mom or the college athlete or the grandfather, all trying to improve themselves. Everyone has their own distinct and unique disadvantages and deficits, and they're all just working to get better. So I think it's the commonality that everyone agrees. And I had a comment from a member the other day. It's like, no one judges anyone from where they are.
Yeah.
And they all root for one another. This is a member telling me this. And I'm like, I see that. But I think it's just so uncommon, even in the normal like commercial gym model where you're kind of a lone wolf. You might have some people that you know or say hi to, but no, is anyone really rooting for you and saying like, you have now adopted like what we believe is normal.
Yeah.
And that's being healthy, being proactively or aggressively healthy and trying to make a difference so that they have an enriched life based on what they do and how they make decisions about that.
And I think the cool thing is I like the comparison of like the big box gyms kind of to hospitals, and we are the boutique gym, which is now the boutique healthcare facility, right? So it's an individualized program. We don't algorithm anything. You may end up doing the same thing as your neighbor because that might be part of your thing, but that's done with data.
Yeah.
Right? Just like some people I will tell, yes, you need more protein. I might say to the next person, more protein, next person. Yeah, there might be 10 people in a row, but it's because all 10 of those people need more protein. It's not just, well, that's what everybody might need.
Yeah.
The ongoing monitoring is a huge deal too, right? And I think a red flag in regular medical world is that once a year you sit down with somebody for 10, 12 minutes, and then they tell you what to do. How do they know? The next thing is in surgical world, you sit down with for 10, 15 minutes, then you operate on them.
Yeah, right.
It's wild.
And then see them 10, 15 minutes after.
Yeah. So in this environment, we offer ongoing monitoring consistently. From your end, what's the version of your ongoing monitoring? And then I'll explain from the medical how involved we are.
Everyone has their own personal dashboard in the app that we use. So there is constant communication, and there's different communication cycles based on what we're trying to ascertain in terms of making an informed decision.
Yeah.
So every day someone is filling out basic metrics, their workout program, their weights, their reps, any notes, this hurt my knee, this feels great, whatever. Weekly, the coach responds to that and says, hey, great job. Look at your adherence level on nutrition. Great job doing your water, whatever. Yep. And then you see your coach let's say 2 to 4 times a week based on when you're coming in.
Yep.
And that is also living parallel to them seeing you or your staff. So the hub of all of this is honest, transparent communication.
Yeah.
A lot of it is personal touch stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that just is the absolute differentiator. If we could sell one thing, it is the communication that exists in this building.
I had a funny moment with somebody. It was like probably the 8th day in a row we had a conversation for more than 5 minutes about medicine. And on one of the days, that person came in and said, it's impossible to get an appointment with you. Like, I can't get in for like a couple weeks. I want to. So I stopped them for a moment. I held them by their shoulders and I was like, listen, you talk to me every day. We talk every single day on this gym floor. What do you mean you can't get in to see me? I'm here. We talked. We just solved your whole thing. And they're like, well, officially. I'm like, no, you're in my office.
Yeah.
My office is this entire gym.
Yeah.
So when people are passively engaged with you or I, how often do you passively engage with your box gym nutrition trainer or your PCP? Do you go hang out with your PCP and work out and they watch you and observe you? I may be talking to all my clients in here passively, they think. I'm noticing every single thing. Are they walking funny? Are they moving their neck funny? Same with you. You probably notice everybody's little movements. Why? Because this is our office. This is our professional arena. So touch points in terms of that become incredibly valuable. And I think people forget how much interaction we really have with them. Selling urgency is an interesting topic, right? So the medical world will sell urgency with like the undertone of death and kind of like symptomatic feeling shitty. So the alternative to feeling that way is they can give you a med to kind of get you back to not feeling terrible. Whereas we don't really sell urgency. People feel like we do because they're at wit's end. They get into a place like this and in their mind, they are super urgent. Right? But in terms of my side of the table, I'm always saying like, this is up to you. I tell everybody the same thing. Their life and my life are totally independent. If they want me involved in it, I'll be very involved. But the urgency is from them. I'm not trying to sell them something that's going to change anything really quickly. I am actually trying to sell lifestyle and health. And that concept is very different. How do you translate that? Because it's like the 6-week challenge translated into the life challenge.
Yeah.
Medically, it's very difficult. How do you do that in terms of the gym physicality, aesthetic end of it, and get people on that lifelong marathon run rather than just that 6-week challenge?
There is a inherent connotation when anyone says medical, that there is a connotation of urgency.
Right.
You got to go see a doctor.
Yeah.
Like the bone is sticking out of your leg. I'm not a doctor, but that's not good.
Yeah.
The equal opposite in what we do is I think we do a really good job of selling relevancy. Yeah. Which then becomes urgent.
Yep.
Because then it's a function of time. Be like, well, we all have a finite time on this planet.
Right.
It should, relevancy also points to that it matters.
Yeah.
Because you said it mattered.
Right.
Not me, not you as the doctor, but the person says, health is relevant to me.
Yeah.
Being able to perform duties while I'm older or serve people or just be around for my grandkids or whatever it may be, that becomes a really relevant thing that they are in tune with and want to strive for. And to your point, naturally it becomes urgent.
Yeah.
Because they see that like if they continue to do what they're doing, that might not be able to be realized in their lifetime. And that's a pretty scary and eye-opening and sobering thing.
It's really terrifying. And then you become accountable.
Yeah.
Right? Like you can't blame the system. It's very easy to just blame the system. Well, the insurance carrier didn't cover my procedure. How about if you didn't need the procedure? Right? Mm-hmm. Like I do get the balance, right? The insurance companies, you have to fight to maintain some cash flow on your end because like there are people that are just abusing the system, right? Like they're not taking care of themselves and they're eating whatever they want. They're not exercising, and then they're going and getting orthopedic procedures. Like I don't really understand conceptually if you do not have a truly diagnosed non-lifestyle biopsychosocial problem with obesity, how any insurance carrier should cover any of it, right? Like if we're willing to pay a surgeon $10,000, $15,000 to do a gastric bypass, if you took a $45 to $60 an hour social worker with a really good dietary background, had that person divide 15,000 by the amount of hours that that person could then stay attached to the obese person's hip permanently, I bet in that time frame of billable hours, they could get that person to eat less, right? And you could give that person way more attention rather than a 2-hour cut them open, staple their stomach closed and send them on their way, and one person makes a reasonable amount of money. It takes a village, yes, but you just need to readjust your investment in terms of input into that person's lifestyle. With that being said, that kind of attention to humanity in terms of the one-on-ones, this environment allows that a lot. Tell me in terms of the training end of things, how much kind of attention these people get, because those touch points, that lifestyle change, if you go to a bariatric surgeon, you're not seeing your trainer in an environment for a weight loss. You're seeing them in an office with a medication. Here, you can actually affect their lifestyle. So what are the things what are barriers to those changes? And then how do you guys encounter those and try to promote that change?
I'll just take it from like, if you were a brand new client, your client experience from the first 6 weeks is you have an appointed guide that is like literally leading you by hand through the first 6 weeks of your time here. And that's for a couple different reasons. The number one thing is to build relationship capital between you and the coach who's going to be servicing your account. The other things is making sure that, like we don't want you to depend on us for your success. We want to build autonomy. You can only build autonomy if you become competent, comfortable, and confident in what you do in the weight room. So that 6 weeks is all about creating massive momentum to get you to the point where you can navigate a weight room, successfully pick out and select weights, execute exercises correctly, safely, effectively. So it's all about putting that person in a position of success in the first 6 weeks. And then at the end of the 6 weeks, hopefully we've earned your business. But as you now go into your continuity or long-term programming, we fit those pieces based on your needs. So that you always have exactly what you need to be successful. And that might be something that we titrate up, we taper down based on your ability to execute some of the demands and tasks that we want you to do. And
you're actually doing it with them. Like you're encountering them in a movement-based environment. So you're moving with them. You're showing them movements on the machines. Whereas if you go for bariatric surgery, they give you a psych eval. Obviously, you had a problem. You ate too much and you're in a hospital to get your stomach stapled. So like, yes, the psych eval, I don't even know what the point of it was, right? These people ate themselves to the point where they need surgery. Yes, that's a problem. So we eliminate that. You do that in that environment, send them back to their house. They really don't know how to interact with their environment, what to do, social cues. But the more time you spend with them here, moving around, you see how they adjust to their environment. You see how they interact with people. You see their cues that inspire them to maybe go get water or sit down. And you can start to now mold them into a way that would help them on the opposite path to weight loss. I think the biggest problem that we're exposing here, the biggest red flag of that environment is it is sick care, right? They don't proactively try to stop anything from happening. There has been a recent push. I've seen, local hospitals be like, oh yeah, if you don't want bariatric surgery, here's our bariatric surgeon to teach you how to eat. That's great, right? But it is a sick care system. So the biggest red flag is that they make their money off people that are ill. We make our money off making people healthy. So if you had 2 doors to choose and you had to go into one, you want to go in the door where people are working to get you healthy, or one in the door that are people that are working to not let you die but remain sick. It's up to you kind of to make that choice.
Right.
I think we're running out of a little time, right? We're at our end.
Yeah.
Yep. Marcus, how you doing today?
I'm good as always.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting thing. People ask, like, what's your major push on why we do the pod? And I think our major push is the mission statement is to give out information. Like, we want people to be healthy. We're not in competition with other people. If doctors want to come learn how to do this, I would love to spread the word. There is no greed involved in this. We want everybody to be healthy and everybody to push that agenda. Next week we'll be filming again.
We'll have a special guest.
Special guest. Until then, enjoy your week.